Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us today for this Professional Development Interest Group PDIG webinar. Firstly, I ask that you all mute yourselves and turn off your cameras if you haven't done so already. There will be an opportunity later on to turn the cameras and the microphones on for the breakout rooms, but for now, please keep them off. My name is Sarah Davidson, and I'm the Member Services Coordinator here at Cabal. I'm very pleased to introduce Adrian Gallagher, who will say a few words of welcome and introduction. Adrian is the Associate University Librarian, Learning Resources, Technology and Infrastructure at Victoria University. Adrian is also Victoria University's representative to the PDIG committee. Thank you, Adrian.
Thank you, Sarah. Now, on behalf of Cabal and PDIG committee, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands across Australia and New Zealand, where we live, learn and work. We acknowledge and celebrate the inherent strengths of Aboriginal, Torres Strait Islander and other First Nation peoples and communities, and also recognise their continuing connection to the land, waters, sky and culture. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. So welcome to the second webinar in the PDIG webinar series, Steer Your Career. Now, following on from Tuesday's webinar, which focused on recruitment and tips for developing quality resumes, this webinar looks more online for your network, enhancing your online professional identity and profile. This topic originally arose last year when so many staff were experiencing remote working conditions and looking at how to maintain and grow their networks in the digital space. Although many of us have now started returning to the office, digital networks remain important, and LinkedIn is recognised as the largest and most powerful online networking tool for extending your online profile and connections across your preferred sectors. Now, to explore LinkedIn Learning, we're fortunate today to have two LinkedIn Learning experts, Amy Watson and John McCoy. Now, John is the Senior Account Director, Education at LinkedIn Learning, while Amy is their Senior Customer Success Manager. Throughout the session, Amy and John will be using our Zoom chat for the discussion and feedback. We will also go into breakout rooms a bit later, and when you get an opportunity to share your networking experiences with your colleagues. And we'll finish off with the Q&A session at the end. So if you have any questions for Amy and John, please type them in the chat. Also, please use the hashtags #PDIGForum 2021 and #SteerYourCareer when commenting on social media during or after the webinar. So without further introduction, I'm going to hand over to Amy and John, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Adrian. Good morning. I'm just going to share my screen. Am I on the right one, John?
That's the right one.
Excellent. You can start off.
Cool. Thank you. And thanks, Adrian and Sarah, for the intros and for everyone for joining us today. We're going to talk a little bit about LinkedIn, get to know us as an organization, what we're here for, who we are and what we're trying to do. Later on throughout the session, we'll share some insights into how to create your own profile, how to create your own personal brand on the platform. We'll look at the existing network and community that's available for you to tap into, thinking about in the library community specifically, and then how that then goes out and connects into higher education and more globally, the world and what opportunities are available. Later on, we'll share some tips and tricks for networking, kind of a couple of what to do's and what not to do's, and where to look to find those new connections, and some other things that you can do on the platform. So thinking about whether it's publishing your own work, whether it's getting knowledge and insights from other thought leaders or visionaries across the industry, and thinking about what skills are emerging and how we can help you back those up with some LinkedIn Learning content. So fair amount to get through. The chat function will be open throughout, so do feel free to pop things in there. We'll try and address them as we can, and if not, we'll get to them right at the end. So to begin with, Amy, if you want to flick down to let's get to know LinkedIn. I know some of you may have a great understanding of us already. Some of you may have never even thought about getting a profile. So we'll take it from scratch and we'll just look at what are we here to do. So the LinkedIn vision is pretty straightforward, really. It's to create economic opportunity for every member of the global workforce. So one of those very noble corporate ambitions, which we use to get ourselves out of bed every morning and makes the whole mission worthwhile. If we think about how we're going to do that, the biggest lever that we have as an organization is to connect people together. So we can identify things like being able to close the network gap that we know exists in society. We know that the school that you went to, the area that you grew up in, and the company that you work for has a hugely outsized impact on people's ability to get the next opportunity. So we see this platform as one of the ways we can reduce that gap and increase everybody's equity of opportunity. To do that, we need people to start using the platform. So we need to be able to connect you to jobs. I'm going to hit you with a few big numbers over the course of the next 2 slides, so bear with us. But we can see up in the top here that there's over 50 million employers on the platform with millions of open job opportunities. That millions number is 14 million. So people using it to apply directly, but also people using it just to mentor, to get advice, to share the benefit of their own experience. And crucially, we know that recruiters are out there using the platform every day to fill their jobs. So 2.8 million recruiters using a LinkedIn license to go out and find people. So if you're not representing yourself on here, then that's 2.8 million people that can't find you. So if we look through to the wider network, and it's one of my favorite slides because it changes every 2 months. I joined LinkedIn about 16 months ago or so, and the first number started with 6. So it's amazing to see how quickly these figures grow. So we're at 740 million people across the world are actively on LinkedIn. We know that locally that's 11 million people for Australia, so roughly 80% of the workforce. Just looking at how many schools there are, that number is actually just updated to 120,000. So it's not something that's just there for the corporate world or just there for people that work in sales or in technology. This is something which is broad and all-encompassing. Even for the student community, we're seeing latest count 39 million students with an active profile. For those of us that are kind of into our sort of data and insights, the 280B point on the end is the number of graph edges, and data nodes are a slightly smaller billion number figure, because what we're trying to do with all this information is to create a digital representation of the global workforce. This can then be used to make informed government policy, education strategy, find out where there are skill gaps. So there is a goal to kind of collecting all this information. So we hope it's the kind of platform that you'd like to be a part of. If we just think about a couple of things that you'd maybe like to get out of today's session, now that you kind of have a bit of an appreciation of who LinkedIn is, the size of the opportunity and the size of the network that's there, feel free to share any goals that you've got for today in the chat, and Amy and I can make sure that we get to them, or maybe just take a couple of seconds and think about some results you'd like to get.
Thanks. Have a quick keep an eye on the chat, but have a bit of a think about what it is that you want to get out of today. This will really help us to guide the session as well, to make sure that if there is something that isn't going to be covered, then at the end we might be able to add that in for you as well. So please pop it in the chat. Great, so we've got a couple of people adding in some things around making contacts outside of the industry and overseas. Yes, great one. Writing a compelling personal statement or your summary, that's always a popular one too. What's that elevator pitch look like? A bit of an overview, an understanding of skill endorsement section, what to include for someone new, great, hang in for the next bit because that's what I'm going to be doing with you. How to craft personal statements, that's, yeah, like I said, always a popular one. Trending skills, perfect, we added them in. We can probably share some more with you post the session as well. Add that to our agenda. Great, thanks for sharing. Keep them coming through. I'm going to get started with a little bit of an understanding around your profile. So your LinkedIn profile is a digital portfolio that represents you and tells your professional story. I know that you have just gone through resume writing, but think of LinkedIn a little less as a resume and more as a dynamic digital portfolio that's both engaging, visual, and highlights your experience and skills to help you build your professional presence. Let's kick off this session by giving you some best practice recommendations to strengthen key parts of your LinkedIn profile. Now more than ever, a strong, polished presence online can set you apart from others. So this will then assist in building your professional network. So thinking about the way of the look and the feel that your profile picture and also the background image has when people are looking at your profile. Next, you need to add a photo. So make sure that you select a LinkedIn profile photo that truly represents you. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to tell your professional community who you are. It can be a professional headshot, but it doesn't have to be. If you do snap your own, just make sure your photo is in high res, has good lighting, and it features just you. In fact, we now have filters that have been added so you can polish your photo on LinkedIn, and you can use them by clicking on the pencil tool down the bottom. And then you can go through and crop, filter, adjust, and change your photo. After adding a photo, the next most important thing to update is your industry. Oh, yep, and education. So taking an example here, adding your industry is really important. Often it is how others will find you and add you to their professional network. In addition to adding your industry, this will give your profile up to 9 times more profile views. Members with industry information are discovered up to 38 times more in recruiter searches. It's simple. You can just click on the pencil at the top of your profile where your headshot is and adjust. In addition to that, you can then add your education. So you can add, as you can see in this particular example here, multiple different types or areas of study that you have completed. This can also be done by clicking on the pencil at the top of your profile where the headshot is and edit education. Draft a compelling summary. So think of your summary as your elevator pitch. And don't worry, there is a LinkedIn learning course that you can do to help you build your summary. It should include an introduction to you and also highlight your accomplishments and your aspirations. Keep it short and keep it sweet. It should be around 40 words, or we like to say 4 sentences. No need to list all of your career accomplishments here. You have the experience section underneath for that. Feel free to highlight your unique talents and how you also want to contribute maybe to your industry here. By adding a summary of 40 words or more, this makes your profile more likely to turn up in other people's searches as well. I'm going to share with you at the end of this a link to a video that you can watch that helps you craft a good summary. And there's a bit of a formula that comes along with that I'll share in conjunction with that, which sandwiches a bit of an algorithm around what the first sentence should address, what the second, third, and what the last one should address as well. So I'll share that with you post today. Following your summary is your experience. So experience is your opportunity to tell your professional story and talk about your accomplishments within each of the roles that you've had. A great way to showcase your experience is to write it in short paragraph form rather than just in bullet point form. You can use a couple of bullet points here and there, but the majority should read like a story, your professional story. If you've worked at a startup company or maybe for a smaller company that isn't as well known, you can give a bit of a brief introduction to the organization before detailing your experience as well. Lastly, it's really great to talk about what you did in your role, but it's even better to talk about and showcase the impact you had, the results you delivered, and the change that you've created as well, or been a part of. Oh, okay. Sorry. Adding volunteer experience is a great way to round out professional identity and uniquely tell your story. Make sure you add volunteer experience and give a quick 1 to 2 sentence description of what you did for that specific organization. Did you know that almost half of hiring managers say that they view volunteer experience as an equivalent to work experience? And it's a really important part of our professional identity. I know that someone before mentioned a question about skills. So adding skills to showcase what you're really great at. Skills are self-selected, so you can add skills to your LinkedIn profile that you believe are applicable to skills that you possess. I would recommend adding at least 5 skills to your LinkedIn profile. And this can also assist in having you view 17 times more profile views. Professionals also search keywords and key skills across LinkedIn. So it's a really great way to be found across LinkedIn. Remember, you're in full control. You choose what order they get displayed in and who endorses you for what as well. You also get control of what skills get featured on your profile. Great, I'm going to hand over to John.
Cool, thanks, Amy. So we're going to spend a few minutes just talking about the network and community opportunity on LinkedIn. There were a few comments initially, and as Crystal Choi mentioned, you're interested in making contacts outside of the industry and overseas. A couple of other people mentioning they were looking for professionals with different areas of expertise, and how to manage those invitations from people that you may not be aware of. You may not understand why they want to connect with you. So let's look at the size of your own library professional market on LinkedIn. If we just look at who's available for you to say hello to straight away and start making a first impression, 2,211 library professionals working in higher education with a LinkedIn profile today. So that's people who you could quite easily start to craft a network with. You're probably already meeting these people. You're probably seeing a few people in the room today and in different networking events. So by sending them a LinkedIn network, you then get the power of their network, which leads us on to the next page, which is looking at the higher education as an industry altogether. So 309,000 higher education professionals with a LinkedIn profile. Putting those two things together briefly can suddenly open you up from maybe having 200 people in your network right now, or maybe even less, to a huge wealth of networks and connections. And then you start looking at your first degree connections and your second degree connections. So first degrees, by that we mean people that you're already in your network. Second degree connections are people that you share a connection with. And then third degree connections are people who are connected to your secondary connections. So then we start getting into the really big numbers. So the higher education network in Australia connects to over 54 million people globally, which I think is a pretty powerful number. That's just by working within the university sector. Now, the nice thing about your second and third degree connections is that they can actually have an outsized impact on your potential job search. The reason for that is if you just connect to people that you already know, then that's great. You're going to really cement, your network, but you're not going to be exposed to new opportunities. You're not going to see new things pop up in your newsfeed, or new job recommendations start to be suggested for you by the platform. Think about it. If you meet somebody at a barbecue that works at Amazon, even if you just make that one connection to them, all of a sudden you've then opened up every other Amazon employee as a third degree connection. So there's different ways to think about how you want to build your network. You can keep it quite small and tight and very refined, but just by making a few outside of your kind of typical sphere connections, you suddenly start opening up a lot more opportunity. And the great thing about that is the more that you do that, the more opportunities for referrals that you have. We work really closely with recruiters and talent acquisition professionals, and we know that their preferred method of hire is via referral. You know, I think 48% of hires last year came from either internal referrals or suggestions from within the network. So you're just kind of increasing your opportunity to get those roles. But be thoughtful about how you're sending those invitations. So an easy way to do it, you know, start with myself and Amy, start with Adrian and Sarah if you're not connected, and just have a look, search for them and send them. There's always an option to send a customized note. So the standard pro forma thing will be, hi, I'd love to join your network, and they may be the kind of questions that you see coming into your own inbox and you're thinking, should I connect with this person? What are they here for? What are they trying to get from me? You've got the opportunity, you've got 300 characters to kind of customize it a little bit. So it could be, hey, you're in my alumni, or I'm really interested in finding out about opportunities within your organization, or we share a shared company that we're following together. Let's connect and explore what opportunities we can get. We know that most people who get a connection respond to it, and the majority of people that get a personalized note generally accept it. So it can be, you know, a little bit uncomfortable to send that invitation in the first place for somebody that you haven't met before, but it's pretty standard across the industry, across most professional industries, to do it. So kind of fight the fear and do it anyway is the advice, and after a few it tends to become a lot easier. So pretty easy to search for new connections. There's a Boolean style search bar where you can search across name, companies, keywords, and then you can also get a little more creative with adding filters. We can click on your own network, so you can look in the top right hand corner. There's an ability to straight away jump in and see, who do you know, who do the people that I know. Kind of similar to on Facebook, you'll get suggested friends. LinkedIn will also give you suggested people to connect with or to follow. And a great place to start for those of us in the higher ed sector is to use the alumni tool. So for whether it's for the university that you're working for or for the university that you attended, you can easily navigate to, on the university page, there's a section which is just about the alumni. And so you can start to look through and you can see, for Victoria Uni, there's nearly 100,000 alumni on LinkedIn. It's a great place to start. Easy, soft connections to start building out that network. Now, once we've got a few people connected to us, a really powerful thing to promote on your page is a recommendation. So Amy spoke about it before as being that kind of dynamic digital representation of yourself. You can obviously be very selective with who you're asking for these recommendations. You know, do it for somebody that you would be comfortable asking for a recommendation from in person and that would be valuable to you. But it's a differentiator. It's not as formal as a reference. It can be, you know, from somebody that you went to school with, somebody that you've got a shared experience with, somebody that was a manager for you, or just, you know, somebody that knows you for a particular style of work that you want to be displayed. And if somebody sends you a recommendation that you're not particularly confident of, or that you don't like the look of, then you don't have to display it. But the more that you have, the more likely it is that a recruiter will see your profile and think it's worth a call. Another way to increase your network exposure is to start following companies. So we know that 57 million companies are on LinkedIn. Chances are, if you're interested in somebody, you can follow them. Let's start with Cabal. So companies use LinkedIn to promote their message, to tell their story, to say things that they want the world to know about them. It tends to be the good news articles. So it's one of those things which if you are going to interview at a company, for example, then by following their LinkedIn page first, you can start to understand what activities they're up to in the community. It can be a great kind of icebreaker when you're having those awkward first few minutes in a conversation or in an interview or in the elevator with somebody. If you've seen a great news story about the work that they're doing to help the people in floods in New South Wales or whatever kind of news they're promoting, Just a nice way to kind of break the ice and show that you're interested in that company. Beyond companies, LinkedIn is really fortunate to have some great influencers. So this is people that use a LinkedIn platform to communicate to their audience. So we've got everybody from kind of Oprah Winfrey, Ariana Huffington on a kind of global scale. The education industry is really well represented. Locally, this is an example of a Professor Solberg from UNSW. Each year we do an awards for our top voices. Last year he was the #1 education voice globally. So I'm not sure if he's a familiar name to any of you here, but there's a number of other people in the education sector who tend to dominate this sphere. We had the founder of the Montessori schools this year in Australia. He's very well followed, and they use this platform to say things that they wouldn't probably say elsewhere. So a good opportunity to network and learn, and also hear some new insights.
And we'll share that list with you as well post today, so that you can see each year we have the top voices of education globally. So we'll share last year's and maybe 2019's with you post today.
Cool. So the more you start adding things, the more you start following people, the more you start following companies and making connections, the LinkedIn newsfeed starts to become more powerful. It's really similar to like your Netflix membership or your Spotify account. It's the AI behind it is pretty smart, so it will start to recommend things that are more relevant for you, and so you'll want to spend more time on the platform. A lot of people don't use LinkedIn to search for jobs, they just use it as part of their day-to-day. They have it open in the background. It's corporately acceptable social networking, so a lot of people are just kind of using it on there to pick up news throughout the day, to understand what's happening and what's trending. And as always with these things, the more you put into it, the greater the end result will be. The final thing to suggest on here is to start joining some groups and building out the network that way. A quick search on university libraries or higher education librarians reveals thousands of already existing groups. And these are kind of safe spaces for you to share knowledge, make new connections, understand opportunities, whatever it is that you want to use them for. Also, if you want to set up your own group on the basis of today, very easy to do. You can create a group and start your own kind of networking site, or start your own ideas forum.
Great, thanks, John. I'm going to take you through, just before we go into a breakout, I thought I'd take you through a bit of a framework that we utilize when it does come to networking. I know that it's really helped me to think about, and a common question that we normally get asked is, who do I network with and who don't I network with, and what should my friends or my networks consist of? So this will give you a bit of an understanding around maybe thinking it and looking at things a little bit more strategically when you are looking at building out your network. So the first tip that I'd give you is to break out of your silo. So think out of, and I know that it's been mentioned before, but thinking of connections or even institutions that are outside of your realm of comfort zone. So thinking interstate or abroad. And then putting together a bit of a plan around what roles are they that you may like to learn more about, or who could you share some information with as well. So break out of that silo. The second piece is make sure that you're nurturing your current network and connecting with them. So once you have a connection, it's really important that you massage that relationship by adding value and receiving value from them as well. If there's something that has particularly resonated with you that they've posted, or if you want to ask them questions, engage with your network, formulate a group, invite people to that. And then the last piece is probably the most strategic part, is building out a board of advisors. So the three questions that I add from this are around, think about these roles that are in your network. So there's three different. The first one is, who can you seek advice from or ask to be a mentor to you? And this is deemed the advocate. So who in your network is there to help you and really mentor you? The second one is, especially if you're looking at moving across the industry, or if you're looking at moving out of the industry, who's just the strategic in? So who is well known in your industry that could assist you in the future to be able to get a new opportunity? And then the last one is thinking about, particularly in your industry, who would you deem to be a subject matter expert? And that could be in a particular topic, it could be on a series of topics, but specific topics that are of interest to you. How can you connect with them to learn more about something that's of interest to you to help you learn, grow, and develop through your network as well? There is a lot of studies done on social networking and the power of learning socially as well. So leverage your network and have a bit of a think around how you can utilize this framework to be able to do that. Great. I'm also just going to comment to say I love that I can start to see, and I encourage everyone in here as well to connect with people that are posting on LinkedIn in the chat function here. They're posting their LinkedIn profiles to connect with one another. So you've got already some open invitations that you can connect with. I've posted mine in there. I saw that Adele and Sarah also posted theirs too. John can post his in there to connect with us as well. Simone has mentioned around LinkedIn Premium. Yep, not a problem. Following today, I'll go through and actually show you a little bit about Premium after this as well. Okay, come to the time. I'm sure everyone is looking forward to having a conversation with some colleagues and peers. So a little bit about the breakout. You will have 10 minutes. We're going to break everybody off into groups of 4. What I would like you to do is introduce your name, your organization or institution, and your role there. These are some talking points that I would suggest that you follow. So share a time that you have successfully used LinkedIn to network. How did you go about that? What was that experience like for you? Who did you connect with is probably a great starting point as well. Discuss who you plan to connect with. So do you or have you started to think about during this presentation around the people, the organizations, or maybe some groups that you follow? Who do you plan and have a think around what that looks like for you? And then in each of your groups, please allocate one person who will be commenting their findings in the chat function following your breakout. Cool. Any questions? Post them in the chat now for me, please. Great. And Sarah is going to work her magic of breaking us all off into groups.
No worries. Bear with me 1 second.
Not a problem at all.
And we're ready to go.
Great. Great. In the meantime, if anyone would like to post from your groups in the chat function, what were some of your big takeaways out of that networking session? Who are you planning to connect with? Where to from here? What is your network going to start to look like? I know in our group, John and I were actually in the same group, and it was great to connect with 3 others and hear a little about their experiences. But we were speaking about specifically looking outside of either your state or your comfort zone. Who's going to be out there, either nationally, maybe in New Zealand, or internationally outside of here as well. So thinking about if you're in, one of the ladies in our particular group was in a specific role within the library, and health was one of them. So looking at what other professionals in her niche are there, and who else can she connect with if she doesn't have anyone as well. Great. Opportunities to connect are global. Great. So I feel like this is a big theme for today. Looking outside of our domain. Interested in learning more about LinkedIn and what it offers, and planning to connect with other information professionals and organizations. Fantastic. Great. I'm going to reshare my screen. The next component we are going to dive into is, I'll share some, these are just some quick tips to help you with engagement. Give testimonials and recommendations to other people. This is a really great way for people that are already in your network to connect with them. Join groups, like and share things that your people in your network will care and post about. So we are going to have a quick look into the feed now, but by doing this, you're then helping enrich your network. Invest time in your connections, take them to lunch or even just listen to them, and make introductions for others. So if you know somebody in your circle, feel free to introduce them to other people and connect them together. Great. John, have we got anything coming through on the chat?
People looking to update their profile. You never know when new opportunities may come up.
Yep, great.
A great one. Definitely keep it fresh. It is dynamic. It's not a stayed CV that you kind of do once every 2 years. Also, what is this? This is the new one. How to manage a profile when you are unhappy with the connections you have made. Can you delete your profile and start afresh, or what opportunities do we have? So we can definitely think about that one.
Yeah, cool. Do we want to maybe address that one now? So if you have a profile, you can go through and delete your connections as well. So you can, I guess, unmatch with them or unfollow them as well. You could start again from scratch, but you wouldn't be able to use the same email address that you've connected with. So we would probably recommend deleting your profile and starting from scratch again if you really wanted to, but then you do lose all of your connections. I would recommend going through your connection list and seeing if there aren't people there that you don't want to. I think the question would be, there's usually two different visions when it comes to connections. I have the vision of you never know who you're going to come across for the rest of your life and what opportunity other people can offer to you. I tend to be not selective with who I connect with, but I do have close to 1,500 connections on my LinkedIn profile that I've chosen to connect with all of them. There are some points that the people that I don't connect with though that are sitting in my non-connected list, purely because I don't either know the organization that they're from. They may be completely random and I have no connection with them at all. So think about that. Some people can be, as Annika has just mentioned in the chat, can be really, really choosy with connections. That's totally up to you. So to Adrian's question, I would say you have at some stage connected with them. Think about, instead of deleting them, is there an opportunity, is the industry that they're in a connection to you before we go through and delete them all. John, anything you want to add there?
No, I think that's pretty well covered. There's a few people mentioned that you want to be choosy, you want to think about different opportunities. Again, yeah, be selective with this. Is your brand, this is your profile, this is your opportunity. If you do choose to unfollow people afterwards, they don't get a notification. You can just quietly ignore them and take them out of your life. But also think about the opportunities there. Like we mentioned the Amazon story before, one connection at Amazon connects you to everybody in kind of a third degree connection style way. So even if you don't know them 100%, they can still be powerful and bring you value. Just before, because it's an important question which has been raised by a couple of people, and we are going to flag it and talk about it next, I think, from Lydia Dorr, wanted to raise the way that LinkedIn displays academic publications. And this was kind of seconded a couple of times. So we are going to talk about publications soon. Amy, have you seen that question?
Yeah, we might actually just go through that right now. That's probably a good idea. So we're first of all just going to have a quick look at, I know earlier someone mentioned something about skills. We will pull a little bit more data and share it with you after, but what we thought might be really interesting is we've scoured the LinkedIn and we've had a look at the fastest growing skills for librarians. And we thought that might be of interest to you. So the top skills, as you can imagine, so these would be skills that are listed on people's LinkedIn profiles, are things like library research and data administration and things like that as well. But these were the fastest growing skills amongst librarians at the moment are data entry, administration assistance, mentoring, acting is one that has, how many? There was 121 people.
43.
143 people said that acting was on there. And then information technology. So I know with the 30 universities that I work with across Australia and New Zealand, that information technology is definitely one over the last year that has been of particular interest as well. Yeah, I was thinking that as well. I know that I can see people adding in as well, acting as in they're acting for another role, but they have selected on their skills on LinkedIn, it has added acting onto there. So yes. Oh, it could be story time related to public library and someone's added in there, possibly. That could be true. Great. So on that, most of you have access to LinkedIn Learning where you can actually start to develop some of these skills. In conjunction to that, what I've done is just pulled and to demonstrate some of the courses that you can undertake. Most universities across Australia and New Zealand give you access and provide you access to LinkedIn Learning to assist in your professional development. I know that you've had a look at resume writing, and I know that tomorrow or the end of the week, there is another course looking at expanding and career planning as well. So I've put together just a little bit of a short list of some courses that you can undertake to assist in growing your professional development in a whole different light, I guess, as well. So some stuff around developing your career plan, managing your professional network, 21 opportunities for better networking. I will also add in here the one on writing an elevator pitch, and also the how to create your summary. Please connect with John and I on LinkedIn. If you need us to have a quick glance at it, we can. And I'm more than happy to have a quick scour through your LinkedIn profile as well.
We can also probably flag the work you did with the call framework as well, Amy.
Oh yeah, great. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. Yeah. I've just recently done a complete mapping on call. I know that having a look back here at information technology, I know that digital dexterity is something that a lot of librarians that I speak with are focusing on, or not only them, but the staff across universities as well. I have just done a complete mapping on the call digital dexterity framework that I'll share with you if anyone's interested. We've mapped it to LinkedIn Learning, so you can assist your own development, but also your staff's development with that as well. And the other one that I thought I'd showcase here as well is, oh, I don't know about those little slides, but is you can, after you complete courses on LinkedIn Learning, you can then showcase them on your LinkedIn profile as well. So a certificate of completion can be uploaded, and after you complete a course, you'll see something like this that'll sit underneath your certifications and licenses as well. So you can choose which ones you want to add. You can delete any if you want to, but it is really nice, especially for your network, to be able to see what that looks like. And everyone, I can see the chat's just gone mad with everyone going, great, digital dexterity, not a problem at all. I'm happy to send that through to all of you following today. So yeah, post what you're just doing, what you're learning on your LinkedIn profile from LinkedIn Learning. You can click on the 3 little buttons in LinkedIn Learning, and it'll give you the option once you do complete a course to be able to do that. Okay, I'm just going to take my AirPods off for a second.
Wait for it to connect. Okay, can you hear me? Yep, great. Okay, we're going to go into a little the last part of today's session, which is now relating to publishing and also sharing your voice on LinkedIn. So there's 2 different ways that you can share your voice on LinkedIn. The first one is by creating an update, and the second is by publishing. So by sharing an update, it is a quick and high touch status update. And the second opportunity is to explore a topic in more detail through publishing. So I know that a lot of you are probably going to be really interested in what's happening in the industry with people that are doing publishing as well. So I'll share some of my own experiences as I mentioned, I work with 30 universities and higher education institutions across Australia and New Zealand.
I'll share with you some experiences that I've had with them and what they've been publishing. And then we might be able to dive a little bit deeper into what that will look like. So let's firstly call out what the differences are between an update and publishing. So sharing an update is a way for you to quickly share your knowledge, your perspective, and your insight about what you care about. And like I said, this is high touch. And then publishing content is a way for you to further explore a topic by writing a long form post. Sharing a status update. So this is the little radio box that sits at the top that you fill out. By sharing a status update on your homepage, you'll see the share box at the top when you sign into LinkedIn. There's a couple of things that can help your status stand out from the crowd. Let's have a look at them. So share your authentic voice. LinkedIn is a platform when you can have your voice heard by your professional community. Be authentic, stay on brand, and show up consistently. By sharing frequently, you can create more opportunities for you and your content to be discovered. So as we said before, by you posting or liking other people's posts, it helps it to expand throughout your network. Post something quick and snappy that engages your professional community. Pose a question, provide your perspective on current events, celebrate success, or even post an article or give an insider's point of view. The more people that engage with the content you post, the more it gets shared. Include photos, videos that will help your post to stand out. Posts that include rich media get more comments and more likes and are more engaging to your network. And then when posting a status update, think of things that you can share that will benefit your professional community. So target and think strategically around what people might want to learn from you. This also goes the other way. Use status updates to pose a question, get insights or thoughts from professionals you care about. So posting questions or seeking insights or data from others is a really great way to use your updates. So now let's have a bit of a look into publishing on LinkedIn. First of all, the first question I might pose to anyone in the chat is, has anyone published an article on LinkedIn? See. Oh, yes, Tanya, excellent. Tanya, what did you post? What have you posted an article on LinkedIn about? And Kylie said that they want support researchers who do. So great.
I've posted things on the Realm project, which is a project that's been looking at COVID materials testing and its safety.
Great, excellent. That's great to hear. I'd love for you to share that with us if you have, so that people can check it out and see what that looks like. If you're happy to post that link, that would be great.
I'll do that post this session.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Okay, so I'll talk you through a little bit around what our publishing, I know that we're in our breakout, we were speaking a little bit about it. Publishing content is a really great way to explore topics that matter to you or to your industry, and to share your expertise and insights with a professional community. That professional community is that gets shared with your network, but it also gets shared within the LinkedIn publishing network on LinkedIn as well. So you can go on to our publishing site and you can search for specific topics or articles within publishing, and you could be connecting with people globally. So a really great way to share your voice, share your opinion, share your research with a global network as well. I'm going to share with you some tips, but then I'll also share some examples with you that I've particularly worked with. Okay, so here is 5 tips when it comes to publishing content. First one is your headline, similar to that of a news article, is one that really needs to stand out. Ask yourself, would you click on this if you were having a busy day and this came up on your feed? How can you capture attention, and how does this resonate with the content that you're posting inside the article? So make it a captivating headline. Second piece is I would always make sure that you add a cover photo as well as photos throughout your article to break up the content. It helps your readers and to be able to engage with your content better, and also helps with to break up the content. Articles with cover photos get more views and comments with those that don't have them. Be authentic. Make sure you show up as your authentic self. Think about the tone of voice that you utilize when you're writing your article. I would always encourage you to get others to read it and utilize your network to proof it before you publish it. You have a lot of experience and expertise, and people want to hear your views, your insights, and your perspective. We see that by utilizing your own tone of voice is a really great way to publish your articles. Think about your audience. And I know that I mentioned this to someone in our group before. Think specifically about who your audience is. And instead of publishing an article that may be really broad, think about, is there an audience that you want to target your particular content towards? So remember to think about your audience and who and what they would benefit from learning. Tailor your content to give back to the professional community. And article length. You can write a long form post, but make sure it isn't too long. So the sweet spot for an article length is 600 to 1,000 words. I'll pop that in the chat because I always find that people ask me that as well. So 600 to 1,000 words. Don't forget that you can link out to other publications or research articles as well. So Miranda asked, do they go through and edit? No, you go through and you're the editor. That is our complete network of published articles is by the individual community as well. So they don't get edited. So I was sharing before in our group, last year I did a bit of work with some researchers at Western Sydney University around how they could utilize LinkedIn to better publish content and specifically research. So, oh, sorry, that's meant to say 600. And it's a really great way to share maybe some of the successes that you've had, or in the other side of that, some of the challenges that you've had as well. So linking specifically into groups, similar to what Tanya said, celebrating some of the highlights through COVID around what you've done. It could be, I know that, like, going back to digital dexterity, it could be some successes that you've seen around digital dexterity that you think that other universities might benefit from. That could be a really great starting point around maybe one of the different areas of the framework that you've particularly been focusing on, and where you've seen success or how you've measured success in that as well. What ways you've been demonstrating that, or that your staff members have been utilizing that as well. So that could be a really good starting point. Any other questions around articles or publishing content? Does anyone want to share anything that they're doing, or that maybe they're hoping to do when it comes to looking at publishing? Cool. What I thought I might, please feel free to pop some questions in the chat. I thought that it might be valuable to quickly jump into, I've found a couple of profiles, but I always think that it's beneficial for us to have a quick dive into the live system and having a look at LinkedIn. I can share. I know someone mentioned something around premium before, so I can go through that. I've come across this particular profile that I thought might be of interest to some of you. Jane Quigley, she is the head of research and learning at Dartmouth in the US. And I came across her profile by finding it in the search function. I think that this, for me, is a really great profile. The only thing she doesn't actually have is a summary that's in there. I know that we spoke around having a look at people's profiles, and you would know that unless you're on private, people will see that you've accessed their profile. But something that I always find really interesting is definitely go through, have a read through people's experience. I know when I created my own LinkedIn profile, going and seeing how people in your industry display information is a really great way to do this as well, by learning from others. But I love to have a look at how and what people are connecting with as well. So having a look at what they're liking, what they're curious about. Are they posting any articles? What posts have they recently posted? And have they shared any documents as well? So a really great way to learn from others and from people in your network as well, is to have a look at what's of interest to them. And if there's any jobs going, there's one in Dartmouth. Let's have a quick dive into, the other thing, before I do premium, I thought I'd show you groups. So I can see heaps of people have connected. Thank you very much. On here, so when you click on my network, two things that I think I'd call out. So the first one is groups. So you can go through and have a look at any groups that you're already associated to. And these are all of the ones that I have. So you can connect with groups. You could then search groups at the top here. So we might type, let's just type in Library Australia, and then you can select the button at the top. This will help you to limit your search. I'm sorry, I'm not don't know which words to search in this one. You can have a bit of a play around with it. But you might want to then go through and let's actually just get rid of, yeah, you might have better insight to what I do, but you might be able to want to connect with the American Library Association and see what's inside their group. So when you do choose or go into this particular group, you will have to request to join to be able to connect with them. So yeah, have a bit of a search around, see what you can find, see what might be of interest to you that's there as well. But yeah.
Do you want to just have a quick look at jobs as well?
Yeah, go for it.
Just particularly thinking about the recommended jobs which come up on the page.
Oh yeah, cool. So we'll have a look at premium, but this is my particular role. And my background's in organizational development. So what the algorithm will do here is actually pull jobs where it thinks that I'm going to be a top applicant and make recommendations around that. And then underneath that, it'll then also tell me here is some jobs that are recommended to you based on the roles that I have listed on my LinkedIn profile as well. Anything you want to add in there, John?
No, for me, that was kind of my takeaway from the breakout group. I found my job at LinkedIn via LinkedIn just by using this algorithm. I find that trying to search for a job in kind of a Boolean search string quite difficult because everyone has a different title. Every organization has a different way of describing what they think that job is. Whereas the nice thing about this is it takes the skills that you have already and it uses your activity on the platform to suggest opportunities where you would be more successful than others.
And it also calls out as well things like how many applicants there are. This one here is pulling my education along with alumni for the current company I'm working with. So it actually gives you suggestions as into there's 3 people in this particular company that there's company alumni that work there that I could potentially reach out to, and it's formulating connections already for you. So you can start to see at this particular role, there's 19 people that I have connections that I work for New South Wales. So you can start to really look at who's in your network to be that strategic person to help you get a role there in the future. That is roles. But as you know, or you may not know, but you can go through, you can set job alerts. So if there is a particular organization or in an institution that you really would like to work for, you can definitely click on that and set yourself up with some job alerts as well. Okay, I'll talk you through, so the other one I was going to go through quickly is just events. I know that at the moment, events are maybe slowly in your state coming back to being face-to-face. What you can do is at the top here, oh gosh, let me try and think of one. You can search an industry. I'm going to put in learning and development because there's usually, or let's do, Let me try and think of one. There's also people publish events on LinkedIn. So if you click at the top here, so once again, you can search a topic, you can click on an event, and then the beauty of this now is that so many events are now done virtually rather than in person. But you can actually go through and filter if there is going to be any industry events in your particular state. You can then go through and actually filter this on the side here, and you can enroll into attending events for particular groups here as well. So, or if you're hosting an event in your particular industry, you could also do the same by posting an event on LinkedIn as well. I'll talk you through premium. So at LinkedIn, as you can imagine, we get premium access. With premium, so you have the option of purchasing premium, or you can also get a free, I think it's a 14-day trial of premium as well. Some of the top things about having a premium profile, really, really helpful to have a look at people that have viewed your profile and a few insights. Like I said before, looking at jobs where based on the skills and the roles that you have listed on your LinkedIn profile, it marries up some jobs where you would be a top applicant based on the data from your LinkedIn profile. And some course recommendations. So something that is really great, if you don't have access to LinkedIn Learning through your institution, you can actually, you do get access to LinkedIn Learning through LinkedIn Premium as well. So for anyone that has that, helps you get found. You can find some really insightful and interesting things about organizations that you plan on maybe working for. So get to know a little bit more around what's happening at those particular organizations. It can help you find and look at skills around open jobs, around what you really need to do, or maybe need skills you may need to develop for a potential role. Look at your earning potential, so you can look at salary data for particular roles as well, which is always insightful and interesting if you are looking at progressing into different roles. And then, like I said, you get access to LinkedIn Learning, which is over on the side here. Is there any questions that we've got in the chat there?
Question came through from Christy about, you used to be able to view your profile as someone else to see how it appeared to others in your network. This seems to have disappeared, and how can we do it now? I think that the easy solution to that is the way, when you go and look at your own profile, it's almost exactly how other people see it anyway. So it used to look really different, whereas now the only difference that Amy can see on her profile is your dashboard.
Is this section here?
So now you can edit it in the real flow of how somebody would see it, rather than it being kind of a separate go in to edit your profile page.
Yeah. A really cool feature is this, they've enabled a feature which helps you to build out your profile as well and makes recommendations. So as you can see, I've been titled an all-star because it's saying that my page is built out almost to the max. One thing before anyone comments on it is I am in the process of mapping out all of my and redoing all of my summaries for each of my experience section of each of my roles here. So that's all in there. A couple of cool features that we've just added, the open to feature, where you can add rings on your page that show whether you're hiring, if you have the ability to provide services, or if you're looking for a new job. So both as a individual or if you're a hiring manager, it's really great to add them to show people. So I think it's the green is if you're open to work. The purple is if you're hiring, and I don't know what the providing services one is, but if you're looking for a service to offer to clients, you might see that of people in your network.
So a question came through from Pip about, you can't message others unless you purchase premium. How else can you approach people? So you can add a custom note when you send an invitation to somebody that gives you up to 300 characters to use, so you can make it quite tailored. but you are physically sending that message, that connection to somebody, rather than it just being a one-off message.
But once you're connected with somebody, you can connect with them without being a connection. Isn't that right, John?
Once you're, sorry.
So once you're a connection with someone,
yeah.
you can connect with them over messaging.
Oh yeah, yeah. The messaging function is great, really easy.
So the in-mail feature is only for people that are outside of your network. So once you have connected with them, as we suggested before, add in something compelling around why you want to connect with that person, and then you'll be able to connect with them over Messenger after that. The other way that some people have their email address that is connected on their profile that is for public knowledge as well. You can approach people through that, I guess, as well if you need to. But something that I would say is, and something that I guess I've learned to accept in my role as well, is I actively try to connect with a lot of people in our industry. I think that for me in my role, it's something that I really utilize as a tool to gain insight into what's current and what's important to people in higher education. But not everyone will accept your invitation. Don't give up hope, and look for other people, or look for a way that people might be able to introduce you to other people in the network as well. Maybe they're not an active LinkedIn user, so maybe they haven't seen your request yet either. Is there any other questions before we close for today? Stop sharing the screen. So following today, we're going to share, I know that Sarah has been recording the session, so this will be uploaded to YouTube, the Caval's YouTube channel. We'll share a copy of our PowerPoint presentation with the links that are in there for you today as well. So you've got those resources. I will share the digital dexterity framework mapping for you. We've put together a bit of a tip sheet. So I know that today we went through a whole heap of information about a profile, how you can build out your profile. We've put together a tip sheet that you can quite easily look at to copy. But like we said before, it's been really great to connect with you. Let's not let this be the last time. Please connect with us on LinkedIn. We'd like to keep the conversation going with all of you. And I have seen some very familiar faces that I already know on here as well. So lovely to see you. Thanks for joining.
Terrific. Thank you very much, Amy and John. You've really shared a lot of insights and techniques that I wasn't familiar with. So we appreciate that very much. And look, thanks also to everyone who's asked questions, put things in the chat, and who's attended today. And I'd also like to thank the PDIG committee for organising the event, the support of our chair, Marion Slawson, and also Sarah for her expertise in organising everything. Now, feel free to contact speakers with any questions, and you can also send an email to members@cavell.edu.au, and Sarah can help you with the contact details or the LinkedIn details. And I also wanted to say, as a thank you to Amy and John, we're going on with the initiative to arrange for native trees to be planted through the organisation, 15 trees.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Amazing.
I hope you know that. So now, just finally, a reminder for the next webinar in this series, which is the 30th of March, 12:30. Australian Eastern Time. Now, this one will be hosting a panel discussion with library professionals who've worked in various areas of the library information sector and who have made the transition between these areas, and they can talk about their experience of going through to unfamiliar sectors or industries. It'll include Craig Anderson from Deakin, Michelle Dazapuri from East Doncaster Secondary School, Robin Ellard is from Yarra Plenty Regional Libraries, and Sarah Jensen from the University of Newcastle. So Sarah will put the registration link for this session in the chat, and we look forward to seeing as many of you as possible on Tuesday. So thank you everyone for your participation today.